Good evening. Sorry for the delay. There was a bad link on the Zoom, and a new agenda is now posted on the website.
Is it the current one we have, or is it?
No, it's a different link. The link was bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just
No, I'm sorry, I meant the agenda.
the agenda's fine. I had to change the link.
Okay.
No changes on that. You're welcome.
Okay, welcome to the special public meeting of April 4th, 2023 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers on March 7th, 2023. And this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
See roll call.
Councilman Casio?
Here.
Councilwoman Feeney?
Here.
Councilman Sears?
Here.
Councilwoman Velez?
Here.
Council President Morgan?
Here. Let the record reflect also in attendance Peter Calamari, Mayor, Mark DiCarlo, Administrator, and Susan Witkowski, Township Clerk.
John.
I'm sorry, and CFO John Corcoran. Sorry about that. To participate in the general public comment, I'm sorry, let me go back to this. I'm going to read the PSI. It's not a reminder. Okay, so on Monday, May 1st, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Motor Vehicle Commission will once again offer mobile services in the Township of Washington. The event will be held at the Bethany Community Center at 605 Pascack Road. Registration is required. Please visit our website for further information. Township offices are closed on Good Friday, April 7th. Therefore, pickup for Zone 5 will be on Thursday instead. You may put your cans and bags out on Wednesday night. The next council meeting will be held on Monday, April 17th at 7:30 p.m. To participate in the general public comment portion of the meeting, please click on the link below to join the webinar. If by phone, *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. Each person wishing to address the council shall give his or her name and home address for the record, and we ask that only one person speak at a time with a 5-minute limit. Speakers are to direct all questions to the council president. All members of the public and council are expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted, and the council president will immediately rule such conduct out of order and terminate any further comments. Motion to open.
So moved.
Second. So the public is saying they can't get into the Zoom meeting from remotely?
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
A new agenda with a new link was just posted, so
It's
tell
just
them to
posted.
sign out and go back in. It was posted maybe 8 minutes ago.
Okay.
So for anybody that didn't hear that, a new agenda with the link was just posted, so sign out and go back in and click on the link.
Diane's
We will
not
hold
on.
public comment open for a minute. Okay. Before we get started, I just want to address the residents and let them know that, the last couple of meetings have been a little rocky, to say the least. The budget season is never easy. But that being said, the mayor and I have spoken today and gave each other space to see where each of us was coming from. So with that said, we plan to work together to move the budget process as smoothly as possible and continue the good work that we're doing up here. So with that said, we can start here if you'd like to come up, and then we'll give some people extra time on the Zoom to click in.
Marian Osment, 960 Adams Place. I've not come into meetings because I've had problems with dealing with how this town is being run. But since the last 2 meetings and what happened, I have to voice my opinion. I'm glad to see that the mayor is here. I worked for this town for 28 years. Never in that time did I see such disrespect from the mayor. I worked under 3 mayors, and Mayor Wenzel was the person who told me personally that as a mayor in a Faulkner town, that he was an invited guest to the meetings. He attended most meetings, but because he is administrator, informed council of all administrative decisions, he did not constantly talk at meetings as Mayor Calamari does. The mayor feels disrespected, but he disrespected the council president and entire council by walking off the dais, not once, but twice. After the first problem, he should have had a discussion with council president and agreed to disagree on certain matters in a professional way. The administrator works for the mayor, but should not be used as a pawn. I do not think the mayor has the right to tell an employee that he or she should either come or not come before the council when needed for information. Thank you, Council President Morgan, for keeping your cool and acting in a professional manner, while the mayor did not, in my opinion. There are many people who believe the way I do, and I am sure the mayor will bring out his people to say what a great job he is doing. Mrs. Velez made that obvious when she spoke yesterday, but township business needs to be done, and the mayor needs to go back on the dais with his administrator. And by the way, Mr. DeCarlo, right? I think you're doing a great job. You're a new administrator, and you really are. I've gone through about 7. So I do believe you are the best one that we've had so far. Now, I have 3 or 4 questions quickly. That's just my comments. And Mayor, you're back. Thank you. I appreciate that. The directors, Mr. Poller was always a director of law. And as a director, he was paid by the town. He only got $1 when it came to how much directors. Jackie Doe, who also was finance director, she only got $1. They didn't get the $1,800. I just want to know with the director of public affairs, since it's a council person, are they receiving $1 or the $1,800 as the director? Also, everybody keeps saying this 5K run is the first one. It's not the first one we've had in town. We've had other 5K runs. It was a tragedy of a family who lived on the lake, and I'm sure all of our police officers will know exactly what I'm talking about. And there was a 5K run they used to have as a scholarship. So, this is not the first time, and I'm tired of hearing everything's the first time. The wellness, Janet used to do wellness all the time when it came to her festivals. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the third thing, sidewalks. I first came to a meeting with Margaret Kosel, and I know you know Mrs. Kosel, in 1980. Our children went to Washington School, and the traffic was horrendous. People parked on both sides of the road and came down the middle. Dangerous, very dangerous. We went to the council, we went to the mayor, and we said, hey, something should be done. Well, nothing did get done. A few years later, Tony Plantaburo, which you've seen here many times, with a group of her friends came, and her daughter walked to school. Dangerous. She was a police officer, so she knew the dangers. Please do something. I think at that point, they may have made parking on one side of the street only and put that walk line in that the children are supposed to walk next to the curb. I'm not sure about the timing of it. Then in 2010 or 2011, Fred Getz was on the council, and his kids went to Washington School, and they came in front of the council, all of his friends, and we all know that's a very dangerous situation. I'm not sure sidewalk is going to be the answer, but one more thing. When you go up on School Street or you go on the school path,
1 minute left, Ms.
that's
Osmond.
cul-de-sac. There's only 6 houses up there. Cars are parked all around that cul-de-sac. Now you have to let these children walk where? On people's property. I've told my grandchildren and my own children when they walk that way, because it's the way I come off of Jackson, that it's very dangerous. Please be careful. And this is the way you have to do things. It's a dangerous situation, but I'm not sure, maybe somebody more creative than me can come up with a real good way of doing it other than just sidewalks, because I don't think that's the answer. People are driving their cars, and I just don't think that's the answer.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you. Pause for a minute. Are there any answers or comments from the dais?
No.
So questions were about the director stipend. Is there an answer?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't write that one down.
Just wanted to know about directors used to get $1, and
$1, $1,800.
$1, and now
Oh,
it's
okay,
$1,800.
sorry, got it.
Getting paid.
Yes, the answer to that is people who have full-time jobs with the town got the quote-unquote dollar, like the attorney, like the administrator. People who are not full-time with the town get the full payment.
Okay. And then I think the only other thing was That was the only question, right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there,
Nobody's gonna handle it.
did you want to answer? Okay, yes. Sorry.
Just in regards to the 5K, there have been 5Ks in town, but they were private 5Ks. This is the first one run by the township itself.
Pull your microphone, Daisy, towards you, please. Thank you.
Okay, so what I was saying is, there have been 5Ks in town, but they were private 5Ks. There is a certified course, which is the one we're using, but the township itself has not organized a 5K.
Okay.
So this is the first one held by the township.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to come up? Well, I mean, anyone like to come up? Okay. Anyone online?
There's residents are still having problems.
They are? All right.
We can keep it open.
Maybe just
and
wait
bring
2
the
minutes.
police.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
That'd be a good idea.
I don't know if I can do that.
Here's, yeah, well, you can
I
suspend
can
the rules
open
and
it
come
again,
back.
Yeah,
correct?
we can open
Okay.
it again.
So that's what we'll do.
So have to,
We're gonna, I guess, motion to close
Close,
and then we'll bring it
Reopen
back.
after.
Okay. So motion to close public comment temporarily.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We will be opening back just for anybody who's having a difficult time logging in. We want to give you the opportunity. If you know any of us up here and you have our text message, have our phones, if you could text us that you're in, so we know most of the public is in too, that would be great. Okay. You guys want to come up? So, yeah. Do I have to open into budget? No, right? We just go into it? Okay.
That's what we did last time.
Okay.
Council President, we go into the police budget again?
Yes, just the first, not the police budget
No.
again, just the capital pieces,
Okay, thank you.
right?
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
All right.
Oh, I said you tabled the
Yeah, we tabled some.
PD architect.
Okay. So, we only have you guys here for one thing, right? Okay. Under the police capital budget, under PD architectural designs and addition, there was an estimate for 25,000. Can you tell us what that is, what your thoughts are? with that?
Yeah, I can cover that. And then I'm actually going to cover the architectural. Then I'm going to ask Lieutenant Chair to also speak, because part of our big problem here is the condition of our jail cell and the security of the same. But let me just start with this, and I can send you this email. I received an email from Mr. DiCarlo today that he received from the architectural firm, Carrie Iovino. So basically, I'll email this to, probably it's easy if I send this to Sue and then ask her to send it to all of you, but I'll send you this email before I leave today. So we put a placeholder fee of $25,000 to cover the initial investigation and planning for the potential expansion of the police department facility. A couple things we want to look at. We want to measure, get a full measurement and drawing of the current two-story building, which is really a one-story building with a basement. Review current needs of the department and review the future needs of the department. Design exploration for the rearrangement of the department to solve proper and safe prisoner handling and public interface. Preparation of the conceptual floor plans and to suggest some improvements to get us a little more space and suggest improvements to allow us to handle prisoners in a safer manner. That would also offer a preliminary opinion on construction value. So we did already meet with the architect. We had kind of a consultation, and the idea is, can we add a partial second floor to the police department to gain space? Or is it possible to put a sally port or a garage in the driveway, which would basically be right out here, which would enhance safe prisoner handling. I also will send you an email that I received from the architect after we had that meeting with him, which was probably about 3 months ago. And it basically says, Chief Skinner, I visited the police department, I observed this configuration, and I did identify certain deficiencies. So again, these were things that we pointed out, but deficiencies are not my word. This is the word of the architect, the professional architect. He recognizes that there's deficiencies. Again, I understand that we just spent a lot of money on a firehouse and a public safety building, I should say. It's the fire and the ambulance. We are building a new DPW building. I get that. The fire department had to be done. It was probably 60 years old, something plus like that. We're only 25 years old right now, and we're running out of space. And I'm going to just read to you some of the observations from the architect. So our entry lobby requires a new soft interview room for domestic disputes, juveniles, and other purposes. So right now, at times, we don't have enough space. We're actually interviewing people in the front lobby of the police department who are victims of crimes, and we got people walking in the door, and there's just nothing else we can do about it. So that needs to get fixed. Requires at least one restroom to keep visitors in a secure zone. So in other words, that's a Department of Corrections thing, where we have, both a victim and a perpetrator in here, and where we're handling, say, like a domestic violence. There's only one bathroom for both of them to use, so the police department lacks a public bathroom. Again, we work around it, but that's the way things are supposed to be. Doors for supporting rooms are supposed to swing out for safety, again, according to the Department of Corrections. A lot of these have to do with DOC requirements for prisoner handling, and we're just not there. So he does recognize the need for a sally port. Sally port is an enclosed garage, so the police car pulls in. We take the prisoner out of the car in a garage, and then we take him to a secure holding area, and then we take them to a processing room. So the problem we have right now is there is no sally port. So we're taking prisoners who are handcuffed out of a police car in the driveway. At any point, they could break away from the police officers and get away. The DOC and best practices all recommend a sally port. I understand that we've been doing it for 25 years without a sally port, but every police department that's around us has figured out a way to develop a sally port. Westwood has the sally port. Hillsdale's is kind of an underground parking area, but it's a secure underground parking area. If you have some time, and I'll send you this too, but you can Google what happened in Garfield about 10 years ago. They had the exact same setup we are. A prisoner escaped. That prisoner eventually ended up in a garage. And then when the police entered the garage, that prisoner came armed with like a large garden tool, a large saw, and they shot him. So 2 police officers had to retire. A man's dead, and the Garfield Police Department got sued for a lot of money because they didn't have the proper equipment to handle prisoners. That could happen here. I will not get into specifics, but we need certain things to make the handling of prisoners more secure. I think in this day and age, when somebody escapes for a minor assault charge and then is shot by the police, I think it's going to cost you a lot more money than than to make these basic repairs that we're asking for. So the processing room, it should be contiguous to the cell holding area. Right now, you're taking them out of a cell, into a hallway, down the hall, and then into a processing room. All those rooms are supposed to be connected. So that's something that I think is not going to be expensive to do, but we need an architectural design on how to do that. The interview room is all supposed to be direct access. The interview room is another separate room. Our interview room, in fact, is a closet. We interview people in a closet. The good news is they're probably not going to escape from the interview room because the table is as wide as the closet and they can't get around from behind it. So, but it makes interviews very difficult. It makes recording interviews very difficult, and it's not compliant to any standards. The doors on that interview room, the door on the processing room, the door on the cell room, all swing in the wrong direction. We're hoping to fix that, but again, before we spend all the money to do this for the current holding cells, I think we need to look at a plan where we move the holding cells in general. That would really be the correct way to do this. We are looking right now at We're in the process of adding electronic locks, and that will fix one or two things, but we're not changing whole door jambs around with this electronic lock project because it would just be way too expensive. None of those rooms are currently ADA compliant, including that we take our prisoners down a flight of stairs. And you can imagine when you have somebody who's heavily intoxicated and you have to take them down a flight of stairs, it can be difficult. You know, the captain and I can vaguely recall an incident where we were taking a prisoner and he got about down to the third step and decided he was going to jump down those stairs. We were pretty lucky there. It wasn't a modern de-escalation, but we did de-escalate his speed and put him down on the stairs. You know, both of us could have been injured there, and it's not the only time. We've had people almost fall down those stairs a bunch of times. It's crazy that nobody's fallen down those stairs yet. So before we spend all the money to upgrade our holding cells, which the lieutenant's going to talk about the upgrades that we have to make according to DOC, why don't we look at moving that whole holding cell upstairs in a garage in a sally port here? That's what the $25,000 is really for. But let me continue on the architect. The cells must be designed for ADA compliant. Suicide prevention. The current doors that we have, and I know, Steve, you came and looked at it. I want to thank I believe all three of the ladies on the council came and I gave you a little tour. We have those old-fashioned cell bars. We're not supposed to have those anymore. They're a suicide hazard, and they're also an injury hazard, because if somebody puts their arm through there, they can essentially break their own arm. DOC is saying, no, those doors have to be solid doors now. It's very expensive to replace those solid doors because you're now reconfiguring them to the old cell. So I know several police departments have done them, and they're somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000. We're going to have to spend $30,000 or $50,000 to fix cell doors. Why don't we spend $25,000 to see if we can reconfigure everything and get brand new cells that are compliant? That's kind of what I'm going here for. And I apologize, I'm getting off on a little tangent. I do want to finish with what else we need according to the architect. Again, the interview room, not ADA compliant. The evidence room, weapons cleaning. That's probably a minor change. We did create a weapons cleaning room. It works very well. However, it's not properly ventilated. So part of the thing the architect is going to look at is how to get some ventilation in that weapons cleaning room. A briefing room. We don't currently have a briefing room. Right now we have a kitchen. We do briefings in the kitchen. Quite honestly, sometimes we have to interview people in our own kitchen where there's, don't get me wrong, we're not interviewing bad guys in the kitchen. We're generally interviewing victims, but I mean, there's all kinds of literature up on the wall. There's knives. Sometimes there's bagels up on the counter. It's not the most professional environment. So, we could use a better interview room. We need a briefing room. Again, our locker rooms, not ADA compliant. I don't see that that's a huge problem, but we have no elevator access there. There are no electric outlets in the locker room except for a couple. We need to get electric outlets for the officers to store their stuff. Again, did we need electric outlets at every locker 25 years ago when the police department was redone? No. But now our police officers carry radios, they carry tasers, they carry personal, they're issued their own weapons. So as police departments evolved, our needs have evolved. So before we start to do all of these projects, we would like the architect to come in and take a look. Also, our records room. Our records room at one time was also a closet. We've now had to take the records room out of the closet and put it in the basement because we need more room in the records room for computer software. So the records room has now become the server room, and it can be only the computer servers according to accreditation standards. And honestly, it's the only thing that fits in there. We used to keep the records clerk in the records room in a closet with all those cabinets, and she had a tiny little desk like it was a schoolyard. She's now in the sergeant's room with 6 sergeants and a records clerk in one room, and the room is probably not much bigger than where you're sitting back there. If you added 7 desks back there, it'd be a little tight, right? So that's another thing that we're trying to work on. One of the things we would like to do, and I don't think this is a deal breaker, we have talked about some kind of carport or maybe like solar panel carport over the back row where we park the police cars. That would make life a lot easier in the middle of the winter when the cars are covered in snow. There's nothing like having to, clean snow off your car on the way to a heart attack call. Of course, in general, we keep enough cars clean. We're outside constantly cleaning the snow. But if you get out and get in your car and for some reason it broke down or it didn't start and you got to go get another car, now you're cleaning snow off a car. So I think that's one thing that we can talk about. But the other 11 things that I mentioned before the carport, they're things that this police department needs to function. They're things that this architect says we need, and they're things that Department of Corrections say we need. It's going to add up to, I don't know what, but that's why we want to get an architectural plan. That's why I think we need an architectural plan. And then if I could just finish, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Sheriff, who's in charge of maintaining not only our cell blocks, but he's also in charge of the DOC inspection. So Department of Corrections comes and inspects our holding cells. We have a lot of things that are non-compliant because the cells are so old. Most of those that we get grandfathered for, but we already know that they're not going to grandfather the cell doors anymore. We're either going to spend $30,000 to $50,000 to fix those cell doors, or we're just never going to use the cells again. And every time we make an arrest, we're going to send 2 police officers on overtime, aside from the officers that are on shift, to Westwood or Hillsdale, and we're going to house our prisoner somewhere else. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. It's going to make it very hard to process. 2 guys are going to be watching the prisoner over there while we're processing him here. Think about it, and Steve knows this, right? Steve, we pretty much just process here, and then if they're going to the county, we'll take them to the county. But we're not going to the county the way we used to because of bail reform. So they're here for 2 hours, 3 hours to get processed. But if I fingerprint this guy and then say, all right, he's got to go back to the holding cell in Westwood, and then my guy's doing the report and the fingerprint card comes back bad and says we didn't get a good enough print, okay, let's get 2 more cops to go to Westwood and get this guy and bring him back here. So the need for holding cells is obvious, and Lieutenant Sherrill will go over the numbers, and I'll readily admit that since COVID and since the decriminalization of marijuana, our arrests have been reduced. But we're going from generally anywhere from on a high year, 56 male prisoners, 11 female prisoners in a year. So you're talking about 66 people a year in that holding cell. It's not as low as you think. Those numbers, again, have come down. I'm going to let Lieutenant Sheriff cover that. But, even if we're putting 20 or 30 people a year in that holding cell, we need to have a holding cell. And those holding cells have to be compliant with the Department of Corrections. We've been lucky where they've been giving us exemptions for certain things. At some point, they're going to take those exemptions and say, not good enough. You've got to fix this stuff. The next thing that's going to happen is we're going to have to fix those cell doors. And again, I feel like I'm kind of harping on this, but I want to spend $25,000 to see if we need to spend $30,000 or $50,000, or do we want to move the cells up here and build a garage and do it the right way? So I think, you got to put the cart before the horse. I don't know what I need till I get architectural plans, or we don't know what we need till we get those plans. So I think $25,000 for those plans is important. And I do want Lieutenant Sheriff to speak a little bit about the difficulties that we're facing with the holding cell. Yep.
All right, so Chief Skinner, touched briefly and did a great job. The cells are a lot older than the 25 years since we had the addition. I believe those cells were original when they first built the police station. So I bet they're 40 plus years old. So they're, way exceed.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
And very outdated. Now, before we get into the cells, again, Chief Skinner already showed you the picture. Whenever we put anybody in a cell, they have to go down the flight of stairs, which is roughly 16 steps. Now, you bring an intoxicated party, anybody along those lines, not only is it dangerous for that individual, but for the officer's safety. Just very dangerous, bringing those people down the flight of stairs. And once we get down the stairs, all right, we have the main door going into the cell corridor. All right, this door does not meet the standard. All right, so that's the first thing that needs to be changed. All right, this door opens inward. The state says that the door has to open outwards, so the entire door has to be changed. The window is not the proper window to see inside. It's not the proper thickness of the metal, and the locking system is not correct. So all of that has to be changed with the door.
Excuse me 1 second. That's because of barricade reasons, right? That the door has to open the opposite way?
I believe
Barricade.
so, yes.
Yeah,
If
same in the
there's an
hospital.
emergency, you have to get out.
Yeah.
Has to push out.
Yeah.
All right, so that falls under New Jersey Administrative Code 10A34 2.8, cell corridors. Now, once we go into the cell block, we have two cells. The cell corridor is supposed to be 4.5 feet wide. All right, this is 4 feet wide. So you need major construction just to bring that up to code. All right, there is a drain here in the center of the floor, which you can see. It needs a drain also to clean the floors in the cell block. Each cell has drains in them, which is not allowed. So that has to be fixed, and the floor has to be papered to the drain, which is just a flat floor. Also, along with the flooring, that does not meet the code. This is a vinyl type floor. Has to be either a terrazzo or a concrete, which is sealed. All right, so that's another fault with the floors. Also, if I didn't mention, in the corridor there, it needs its own water spigot, which is not there. And that's so you can get the hose to wash it out, just in case something happens in there and needs to be cleaned out.
Desiree, it's composite flooring.
He said terrazzo.
Yeah, that's composite flooring.
It's very expensive.
Right.
Poured.
Yeah.
All right, this is cell number 2. All right, this cell has been out of service since December of 22. Now, if you see, it's got the urinal. It's a special type of urinal, which is tamper-proof. Apparently, we've been unable to get parts for that. The administrator is aware of it. He has been working with a plumber to try and get that repaired. So since December, we've only been working with one cell. Now, if the situation arises and we get 2 people at the same time, we have a problem. So that's something we're going to have to deal with after the fact. Right? Again, here it's posted, the cell is out of service. Right? If we had more cells, we wouldn't have a problem. Now, these cells are side by side. Okay? Right now, with our policy that we have, there's a section where sight and sound. Now, if you have just say male, female in each of the cells, you're not supposed to be able to hear each other. So to bring that up to code, you would realistically need another door in between the 2 so that they couldn't communicate. That's part of the statute. Now, these cell doors, as you can see, they're regular steel bars. That's not compliant. All right? Now what has to be is, to make it compliant, is the 10A34-2.5 self-construction specifications. Okay, I'll read that real quick. It's section G. Cell doors shall be security type hollow core metal, minimum 12 gauge steel. The door shall slide or swing into the cell corridor and shall contain a standard food pass cuff port, a pole type safety door handle, an observation port of security glass at least 9/16 thick, and security grade polycarbonate at least 1/2 inch thick. Door shall be secured with detention type locks, preferably lever tumbler and paracentric keyway. With independent deadbolts. Now, we don't have any of that. Again, like the chief said, this is like a suicide hazard here. They can take a shirt off and, you know, it doesn't take long to do something like that.
Ligature risk, yeah.
Right. We have cameras. We observe it. If we're not down there watching them, you know, we go down every 15 minutes, but this does not meet the standard. That's a minimum standard. So with that being said, like Chief Skinner said, we need new cells, all right? It's a hazard not only for the people we're putting in there, but for the officers. So we just had an inspection last year. We actually just got the the rule exemption maybe in February. Now that's good for like 2 years. We're speaking with them, you know, we've been getting rule exemptions over the years, and they realize that these repairs have to get done. So there's going to be a time where they're going to say, no more rule exemptions, you know, then what do we do? So this is something that we've known about for years and years, and it's something that we have to take care of, you know, sooner than later. I think that's about it, Chief. John, AJ? So, you know, if anybody has any questions with any of the state statutes or anything, you can, you know, surely come and see me and I can go over each statute with you. If none of you have seen the cells, you know, I work, you know, during the week. I'll give you a walkthrough. I'll show you that flight of stairs. I'll show you everything that needs to be, you know, done to bring us into compliance.
So I think if you look at the pictures of the jail cells and the bars, they might look like normal jail cells and bars, but that's probably because, you know, you were watching like Andy Griffith and you saw the cell in Mayberry. That's about what we're looking at is the cells from Mayberry. Interestingly enough, the cell in Mayberry was a little bigger, so size-wise it's compliant. I think the only thing the lieutenant left out was that on top of everything else, the size of the cells themselves are non-compliant. They have to be bigger because we're supposed to be giving that prisoner, even for that few hours he's in there, more space. You know, so that's the big thing there.
Again, yeah, it's supposed to be 100 square feet. I think we're at 60. One other thing, what was included with the rule exemption report, the exterior walls is supposed to be a foot thick, being that the building is so old. We don't know how thick it is. So we've been getting the rule exemption. So that's something else that would, you know, have to be checked and, you know, brought up to code.
Okay, so I have some questions.
Absolutely.
So you've been grandfathered in thus far with a lot of the stuff, the rule exemption report that you're given. I have something similar when I take over an older unit in a hospital. I do have a psychiatric unit, so I get the ligature risk, I get the barricade-proof doors, that whole 9 yards. What used to be code has changed, it's no longer code. But they always give us time, like a corrective action plan, and they give you ample time. So they'll say, you know, if they're going to be changing it, they'll be in touch with you and say, you know, next year you're not going to be grandfathered in. Please make sure you have it by the next year. First question I have is, have you been told when your exemptions will, your grandfathered in status will run out? If not, then you definitely still have some time, because I don't think they can spring upon a municipality, spend $100,000 right now to come correct with your stuff and meet the code in 2 months. So have they been in touch with us with regard to when?
They have not given us a date as to when that rule exemption status is just going to cease.
Okay.
But right now, we just got the rule exemption and it's good for, I believe, at least 2 years. There's certain things that are good for 2 years and some that are good for 5.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
most of the
helpful.
rule exemptions are 2 to 5 years.
Okay.
However, we were told verbally that the doors are going to have to get fixed. And listen, so the doors getting fixed are probably 2 years away. But that's why I think we need to spend the money this year to see what we can fix for next year. You know, if we wait another 2 years to even look at this, then we're really going to be behind the eight ball.
My other questions, and I'll give the council an opportunity to ask questions also, but while it's on my head. You talked about how many prisoners you've had, and thankfully there's been a decrease, so great job. Obviously, we're doing something right in the town that it's decreasing. The other, I guess what I'm gonna ask is, how often do you bring people into that cell? From what I understand from the tour, when Councilwoman Velez and I were there, we talked, you guys had mentioned that sometimes most of the time, they'll sit in a chair and be handcuffed to a certain area upstairs. They're not brought downstairs all the time.
No, and we could all answer this, but I'll answer it. Any adult that's under arrest is going to be put in a holding cell. There are times, for example, where, like Lieutenant Sheriff said, cell 2, we can't use it, it's out of order. So one prisoner might go in the holding cell. The other prisoner would be allowed to be handcuffed to a chair, but it has to be a fixed prisoner chair.
Mm-hmm.
There is one of those in the processing room. So we could handcuff a prisoner to a fixed prisoner chair in the processing room. That is acceptable. However, then they have to be monitored 24/7. You can't even walk out of the room if they're.
And how long do you typically have, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. How long do you typically have a prisoner before, because I understand the Bergen County Sheriff take them, right? It goes to the Bergen County
Only
jail
if it's
or
something
whatever.
that they have to get housed for.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have to be something that rises to the warrant status, which nowadays typically doesn't happen.
Okay, so how long typically are you keeping them?
3 to 4 hours,
Okay.
depending. We had a DUI driver last weekend. We kept him here over 8 hours.
Okay, so I'm just trying to see it from all angles. So the norm is you keep him here 3 to 4 hours, and you kind of have him on a 1-to-1 because you'd have him on that chair rather than bring him all the way downstairs with doors that are ligature risk. That would be my
No.
assessment.
They go in the holding cell because the officer that made the arrest needs to do his report. He needs to type a complaint. He needs to run computer checks. So that person's in a holding cell. The only way we can handcuff them to a chair is if we're sitting with them.
Okay, but your holding cell is on camera?
The holding cell is on camera, but the
Okay.
camera is also not monitored. You know, the cameras are in the dispatch center. So in theory, the dispatcher can watch the camera, but they can't continually monitor the camera. They're doing their whole job. So as a general rule of thumb, 99% of the time, if you're an adult and you're under arrest, you're in a holding cell.
And you're doing
We only take you out of the
Q15s on
holding
them?
cell to take you out of the holding cell, out the door, down the hall, into another door to process you. That's part of the problem that I was talking about. Once you're done processing, we don't leave you handcuffed to the chair. We take you out, we put you back in the holding cell, and then, we're upstairs finishing paperwork, calling somebody to pick you up, because generally you're not probably going to the county. If you are going to the county, then, instead of it going on a complaint summons, it's going on a warrant. There's a little more paperwork involved. There's intake paperwork for the jail. There's a lot of paperwork with processing a prisoner, right? There's, everything from the prisoner's personal property sheet to the actual jail cell log form that we have to physically check, that we check them every 15 minutes.
Right.
We make comments, that kind of stuff. So it's very, very rare that we handcuff somebody to a chair, because that's not really a good idea. It can be done, it can work, but they need to be in a holding cell. It's much more secure. It's safer both for the officer, it's safer for the prisoner, frankly. There was an incident, and this is going back some number of years, where that's all that Emerson had for a little while they were redoing their holding cell. And somehow somebody got a hold of a small pocket knife and was like handcuffed to the chair, but waving the knife. It was a mess. So we prefer to put him in the holding cell. Handcuffing him to a chair is really a last resort. Like if we had 2 prisoners, which often happens, they need to be separated. Even if they're both male, they still need to be separated. And if we don't have a second holding cell, then we would handcuff the second to a chair. But again, that's not ideal, because then somebody's got to sit with that. And honestly, I'm not leaving one cop sitting with the guy handcuffed to the chair. I'm leaving 2. Because I don't want him to somehow escape or hurt himself or the police officers.
So they would go in a holding cell that's monitored by cameras that there's someone there, but not necessarily tasked with monitoring it 24/7, like
Right.
constantly, but they're being monitored. And then you're doing Q15s on the patient, see, I'm at work. You're doing every 15-minute checks on the prisoner to make sure that they're fine, they're not, right. Mhm. Okay. So that's how you're getting around the problem with the,
With the rule exemption.
Yeah.
Correct.
right.
So they're giving us the exemption so that we can still use the cells, but eventually that is going to end. They kind of insinuated that that's coming. We've been getting these exemptions for well over, 15 years? So, I think the time is getting near.
I mean, at a very minimum, those doors got to be replaced. And I've been told by other chiefs, somewhere between 30 and 50,000. And honestly, I think that's because they replaced the doors. We would not actually have to just replace the doors. We got to replace all of those bars with a wall and doors. So generally the way it's done now, anytime somebody builds a new police station, and trust me, I'm not asking you for a new police station at this point, but what I'm asking you for is new holding cells, and they generally come prefabricated. They're coming in parts and it's all put together, and it's basically a steel box with the proper ventilation, with all those requirements, with all the safety features, and it's put into place. I'm not saying that couldn't be retrofitted in the basement, but it certainly belongs on a ground level instead of down a flight of stairs.
Does this have any impact on the certification?
I'll say this, I believe in our current condition right now, it will not restrict us from being accredited.
That's what I meant.
However, if we go for reaccreditation and the cell doors are deemed improper, then we won't get reaccredited. I think this accreditation that's coming, should be the end of this year, we should be okay. I've seen departments get accredited who have similar, we're not the only ones that have this problem. It's across. Anybody that has a new police station in the last 10, even 15 years is probably in better shape. But anybody that's more than 20 years old is facing the same problem, and the expense is high. It's something we got to do.
Rich, how long is the initial accreditation for?
3 years, essentially.
3 years.
So we would be up for reaccreditation in 3 years.
Okay. And then I picked up on one thing. You talked about the Sally Port. You said it was recommended, not required. Is that correct?
Sally Port is not required.
Okay.
Right. So the Sally Port is required, but we're exempt from it.
Because we don't have to.
Well, yeah, of course.
That's why in order to.
We have one, you don't need one, but you have.
To be 100% compliant,
Compliant, we need
to
to
have
have
it.
Sally Port.
The other big problem is as soon as you fix one thing, then you could lose your exemptions. In other words, those doors that open in instead of out, if we fix the door and it opens out, then we could lose all those other exemptions, because once you start new construction, you lose the exemptions. We're getting exemptions because we haven't changed anything, and we say we can't afford to change anything.
So with the Sally Port, that exemption, they gave us 5 years for that. So,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chief,
Yes.
you mentioned a lot of ADA requirements. Have we got grants? Have we reached out for grants with our grant writer for them or do we even know? Have any ADA grants been written or do you know
So
about them?
we have not spoken to the grant writer. I actually had a meeting with the grant writer today for 2 other issues. But no, we have not spoken about ADA compliant cells. And I'll say this, I can remember an arrest I made of a gentleman who was in a wheelchair, and we kind of did what Council President Morgan was suggesting, and not bring him down a flight of stairs in his wheelchair. So we left him upstairs and just left 2 officers guarding him.
Because the ADA grants are coming out and
There's nobody else.
Yeah. And listen, I'm all for applying for the grant, but if we don't spend $25,000 for the architect, we're not going to know what we need to even apply for a grant. So it's kind of like this is the first step. I know you guys were talking.
right, but the ADA may take 6 months, 8 months, but even still, you would still have that money for ADA compliance for anything going in.
we would, but we wouldn't know what we need until we can just have an architect take a look at it.
Correct. No, I understand, but I would apply for the, the doors, the windows, the stairs,
Yeah.
things that you might be able to fix while this process is going on.
I mean, it's not a bad idea, and I'll tell you, I spoke to the grant writer today since you brought it up. We've already agreed, and I think last night you guys voted to push back ALPRs to next year's budget. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so according to
Did
the
you look
grant
for the
writer
grant?
today, I spoke to David. He will apply for a grant. He doesn't believe we're going to be able to get the grant because Bergen County Prosecutor's Office already got that grant, and they've agreed to work with us. So the grant is going to pay for all the equipment that the prosecutor needs off, the software, the storage, all the data, all of that, and we're expected to buy the hardware. We'll certainly apply for the grant, but David said to me today, he's like, I don't think you're going to get the grant because the county already got the money to do the whole system, and you're expected to buy the cameras. We'll apply for it, but
Yeah, please apply for it.
But what I'm saying is,
with the state.
we pushed back a $125,000 project that really needs to be done now, but we understand we're trying to save money. We get that. So we've agreed to push that back, but I really can't push back the architect because I need the architect to know what I need. And I'll compare this to another example and maybe it'll help. I believe it was Salem Road or one of the streets, you got to do sewer repair before you pave the road. I was watching last night, by the way. And I would have been here last night if you told me to come here. I'm glad you brought me tonight, but I could have been here last night and answered the same questions. You have to fix the sewer this year so you can pave the road next year. I have to have an architect tell me what I need so we can start planning for what we need before these things happen. The command staff, I think, has done an excellent job between all these meetings. These three gentlemen live in one office that's like half the size of Sue's office, and then they share it. Like they literally sit on top of each other. During COVID, we had to either send them home or make them stand outside because the three of them couldn't be in the office. There's just not enough space here. We're looking for ways to not expand the footprint a lot bigger, but to add some space. And maybe what we really need is kind of an efficiency expert.
Yes. Yes, you do. When Daisy and I walked through, we thought you needed a woman or
A woman's
something in
touch.
there. I just wanted to declutter the whole
Those are her
thing.
words.
Listen, if you as a woman and a designer can tell me how you get my 6x9 holding cell to be 10x10, I'm all for it. But until then, I need the money to get the architect.
No, I get that, but I mean, I feel like there's a lot of,
Yeah.
visual,
Clutter.
I don't want to say the word, it's like a bad word, but
No,
visual
it's
clutter.
Paperwork.
Yeah.
You need paperwork.
We don't have the
So-
space to store it.
Exactly.
That's really.
The other thing I'll
what it
say
comes down
too is when did we do that? That was like September, October last
Yeah.
year. You should see us now. We've made so many changes because of accreditation. I would love to come down and show you that
I will
property room.
take you up on it.
Yeah, you'll really like what we're doing in there.
Okay. And then are we able to utilize for your storage? I know it has to be, I don't know how much you have to keep or how you have to lock it. I'm going to assume it's like, has to be under double lock. I have no idea. But is there not space inside the municipal building here that you could use to carve out for your
Can't
stuff?
leave.
It can't leave
our
there.
confines.
Okay.
There's retention issues with a lot of those cases. We have to keep them forever, some of them. Others we have to keep for 20, 30 years. So certain things we can get rid of, and we will, and we have. But the problem is a space issue,
Does it have to be-
especially
I'm sorry,
downstairs.
Does it have to be on site?
Yes.
Because in New York, they had they had the big fire of their evidence room. I mean, their stuff was off-site. I'm just wondering, can we do it off-site as well?
So I know that the only agency I know that stores evidence off-site is the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office because they have so much evidence. I
Right.
mean, they have a garage, which is down by the jail where they store cars and all that stuff. Our extent of off-site storage is if you've seen some of the shipping containers in the parking lot, those are now actual outdoor storage lockers that are required under accreditation. So one of them is going to be from everything from just bicycles. We also are currently looking at a safe way to store fireworks or explosives, or if we have ammunition that's evidence, it can't be in the regular evidence room. It has to be outside in one of those containers with certain requirements. So to that extent, Steve, we are doing a lot of that. just to give an example, with the support of council, we were able to redo our evidence room. We did bring in the Beast. Remember, we talked about Beast for evidence and management. We've been a police department since 1934. When we took over the police department, we revamped evidence and we did an evidence audit. Do you know when the last time the evidence audit was done?
1946.
1934 when we started. This department has never done an evidence audit. We've done one every year since we took over because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
We need to fix these cells. So I implore you to have an architect come in and give us a design so we can just start to fix these problems before they really bite us. This, I don't think, is something we can push back. The ALPRs, we didn't want to push back, but we agreed to push back. This is really the only capital item we're looking for. If you guys vote no for this, the police department has zero capital budget issues for the year. I don't think it's a lot. Like we just need to get started in the right direction. We need to get some research done so we can, effectively handle prisoners because, again, $25,000 is a lot less than the liability when somebody puts his arm in that door and breaks it.
So, and I mean this from like my heart, honestly. I think you guys have done a tremendous job. I think especially when you became chief, like just a lot of stuff, really good stuff has happened. You've done a lot with the little, right? And you guys have done tremendous. The proof is in the numbers. We are a safer town. And I appreciate and I love, I'm raising my family here, so I really love the fact that I know my kids are walking around in a safe town. And that is kudos to everything you do. I hope you never take, if we are not able to extend certain monies ever as a slight to your department. We have the best. We have some of the best. I wouldn't trade what we have here for any of the area towns. Better police department in other places doesn't matter. I think our quality of police is second to none.
Thank
you. Thank you. That being said, I just want to, before, votes are made and maybe, anything is taken personally, nothing should reflect that we don't think you do a tremendous job and that you deserve everything. If we had, the money, I would give everything to you guys. Get everything new. You deserve it. With that, we have so much going on in town and a lot of must spends, like a lot of areas that we have no choice, but we have to spend. With all the insurances that have gone up, everything that there's no negotiating around it. There's no way that we can say, oh, let's kind of push this off to next year where this is one of the only projects that we focus on. And while it's only $25,000, that's only for the architect. That's not, that's on top of whatever he's going to come back with, which is terrifying. Because I'm sure if it was $30,000 to replace an old door, I can't even begin to dream what it's going to be for a brand new, Sally Port door. What worries me is even if we wanted to meet you halfway and say, well, let's do the architect, and then in the next year we start the project. You just mentioned it's going to break your rule exemption potentially, and then you have to fix everything because you've started the project. So we're sort of at like a crossroads. It's either all or nothing, and I hate that. I'm so uncomfortable with that. So I just want to hear how the rest of the council feels.
Mayor?
Yeah, of course.
The chief actually saved the $75,000 by not putting in a car. Let's keep that on the table. 25,000 out of the 75,000. To me, it's muted that we need to start. It's not putting any pressure on us to build a building right away. We need to start somewhere, like anything else. We need to see what's out there. We need to see what grants the grant writer can get for us. I don't have a problem recommending that we move forward with this. The words out of your mouth, I support 100%. They do an excellent job. They're not asking for the $125,000. Thank you for giving us a break on that. You gave us a break on the car. I think this is the least we could do to start this process going. Thank you, Council President. And I will make a recommendation that we support this.
Okay.
Well, I'm okay with it because we're only right now, we only have to fund 5% of 25,000, which is nothing. Okay, because it's capital, it's instruction, and you do have to find out what you need before you actually do it. Again, you talked about some of these new cells are prefab, basically, okay? So if you can get a prefab, drop a Sally port and 2 cells right next to it, I'm okay with it, okay? Because doing prefab is a lot cheaper than ripping stuff down.
For sure.
Personally, you are doing a fine job. I'm proud to say that you are my police department, and I never have to worry about keeping my door locked at night because my wife complains you don't lock the door. I said, don't have to worry about it. I got Rich looking out of my door. But that being said, you're doing a fine job, and I have no problem funding it at this point.
Thank you, Steve.
And I'll lock my door now.
Now that you said that,
So tell everybody.
Lock the door, leave the lights on.
Anyone listening?
9 p.m. routine, don't
I already
forget
have
the 9
I already
p.m.
have the camera. The camera's in.
Anyone else?
If I may.
Yeah.
I would agree with what Councilman Seer says. We need to see what we need. So I am in favor as well for the 25,000. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. I know I work with many of you often, so I appreciate how much you do for the community.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No. Okay. Sue, do you guys want to?
I'll make a
I
motion
make-
for the full amount.
Okay.
I made the motion.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. See, Councilwoman Feeney will second it, right? Because Mr. Sears motioned.
One question, are we bonding this or just paying the whole freight right now? Because we usually bond most of the stuff that we don't throw out.
Mr. Corcoran, that's probably a question for you.
I mean, you could, and if it's, if it's 5% down, which normally they are, it would be 1,250 if I did that right in my head.
Let's do that.
And,
Let's do that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it would be 1,250, 5% of 25,000.
Okay.
Less than a cup of coffee.
Yep.
That's the milk.
Okay. All right, so there's a motion and a second. Thank you. Yeah.
Councilman Calcio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
and Council President Morgan.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your time, because I know
Thank
you
you.
put a lot of hours into this, and we always appreciate if you have us in and listen. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Council President, I thought we were going to talk to the police department about the sidewalks too. That was the second item yesterday. Can we ask them to come back?
I didn't have that to talk to them, did we?
Yeah, yesterday we said since they were coming back for this, that we were going to talk to them about the sidewalks.
Oh, actually, with the sidewalks, I think what we discussed was,
Committee.
was we talked about, like having residents come forward. We didn't have enough of a discussion. We heard what the police had mentioned, which is why, we even are moving it forward. But I would like to, on the sidewalks, I personally feel, and I think I share a couple of the council people's opinions up here, that the residents need to be part of this. We have to talk to them. They have not all been contacted that this affects. I believe there's about 20 homes that it does affect, if I've looked at the map correctly, 20 to 22, right?
I don't.
29.
29 homes, okay.
I didn't.
So I think that I did reach out today. I should have let you guys know this. I did reach out today to the acting superintendent of Westwood Regional and asked if he would call me back. Kenneth Rodo, I think it was. I emailed him and asked to please call me back so we can get the stakeholders at a table and have a discussion about these sidewalks. That there were some really good suggestions made at last night's meeting. And if we are going to be looking to expand Washington School, I want to hear some of the plans from the school board. And in those plans, potentially there's a different traffic flow that can be discussed rather than just, putting 500,000 into sidewalks that may or may not be the solution. So I think if we have a committee and we have, a combination of police there and the school board there, a couple of parents there, the residents there, council representation, that the mayor, we can have a thorough discussion and come to some kind of consensus of multiple options and make it from there. And with that said, I would like to move this to potentially fund this for 2024, not for today, because the committee meeting isn't going to happen with all the stakeholders in time to get this budget put through.
I'll second that motion. I think.
Right, but I asked last night if we could have, since the chief was here, to speak to him about, because he said, if you have any further questions, be more than happy to come back to the table. So I thought that was something I did request last night. So as budget conversation, I was under the impression, understanding that there was
I'm listening.
I can't hear, I'm sorry, they're talking.
Well,
Councilwoman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
well, I seconded it, your motion,
Okay.
so.
But we could still have discussion because we've done it other times.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
So I was just wondering, we did talk about it yesterday and having the chief here, and he was gonna be here, and I said, well, we could ask him the question, if we want to ask for Wayne Place.
did
when
you
he's
have
back.
specific questions?
Yeah, I have specific questions.
Okay. The thing is, though, if we vote that we're not going to table it, then by all means, we can bring them back, or you can maybe email a question. I don't think I definitely don't have any more questions that he can answer. I think we need to hear and speak to the school board and see when their plan is to build upon the Washington School. And when they do that, is there a potential that they could possibly work into that, that architecture, whatever, the architect can work in a different traffic flow. So I don't have a question for that they can clarify for me. My questions are very clear here, where they are and what they are and why we need them. They sat here and told us, they gave us a whole presentation a couple of meetings ago. But again, there was a motion and a second. And if we don't vote to table it, then, to move it into 2024, then by all means, I'll ask them to come back.
So as part of the budget discussion, I'm being denied to request for the department heads to answer my questions. I'm just
No, you can
clarifying.
email them.
No, but here, like everybody else has asked the questions and had the department heads at the table, that, I'm just clarifying for perspective, like, is that?
Okay, is there anyone else other than the councilperson, Councilwoman Feeney, that needs them to come back into the room?
Well-
If we're going to vote, it's going to be a 3-2 or one way or the other.
My question was, last night, we also discussed doing a special meeting for it. So that's why we have these dates that were presented. I
Right.
thought that was
Right.
what
We
were.
are still considering that. The thing is that it's spring break, so the acting Kenneth Rodo, I think it is. I don't anticipate that he's going to get back to me in time for maybe till next week. And then we could put a committee together and have those special meetings. That's definitely,
But if we move it,
potential.
can we still, if we move it to 2024, then we can't, there's no purpose of having the special meeting
Right.
in April,
Because
right?
we could have the meeting April 19th when the school's back in session. That gives us enough time
Well-
for next week. Public school is back in session, so they could post it. Our lovely clerk could advertise it. We could host it here. The 19th seems to be enough time that we could have the meeting.
Sue, is that enough time?
Today's
Well,
only
if we're
the,
gonna do it, if we're gonna do it for the 19th, the 19th is one to be available. I give
But
you
when
all-
do they go back to school? They go back
school
Monday?
Monday. No, they go back to school this Monday, the 10th.
People.
Yeah, public school's off this week.
Right, I know, my daughters are in public school.
Yeah, I would think
10th,
so.
is that the
They go
10th?
back the 10th.
So, and then having it 9 days later and seeing if they're available and
Because
parents are
I
available.
I agree. I think we should hear from some residents as well.
Yeah.
Before we yay or nay it.
Mhm, mhm. And honestly, there's nothing more. They gave a great presentation. That's one possibility. there may be other solutions that we are not considering, right?
That's why the 19th would be, maybe some other residents or parents have another solution. We could listen to it then.
Are we able to table just a particular piece of capital? And
Yes.
then,
No, and
Oh.
put the budget through?
It's got,
well,
gotta be
not,
the-
That's,
Right.
can I have permission to speak for a second?
Yes, you have permission to speak,
Oh.
yes. So.
That will create a problem because I did hear from the DCA today about our budget. The latest date that she will give us to introduce our budget will be April 24th.
Oh, that kills that.
So that will create a problem if you,
Can we put a request out again? Do you have an email from them saying, can you share that with the council?
it's just,
You shared it with me today, yeah.
it just,
Do you
she
have an
said
email?
the 24th is the day. I asked her for the week of the 24th, the latest May 1st, because I know how you all felt you wanted to get it introduced. And she said the 24th, and she asked why. I explained our budget process. I said, we've got, meeting, tonight's a meeting. I don't know if you're going to be in a position to make a decision of introduction. It's got to be put together as a budget.
Okay, so I'm going to put a motion out to decide what we're going to do. We could still have a committee, we could still discuss it, we can do all of that in 2024. All of that can happen in 2024. Or we can table this to 2024, this 500, just as a placeholder again. Have the committee meeting at that time, but between now and then decide that that's what we're going to do in 2024. It makes more sense to not rush it.
I'm sorry, Council President, you're saying start holding meetings in 2024 when it comes up, or do it now so we have the answers in 2024?
No, have the meetings now, right?
And yeah.
And then in
okay.
2024, we'll
That's-
push that. Yeah, that's
That's
what
what
I'm
I
saying.
thought, okay,
Yep.
yeah, so.
Yep. Have the meetings now, because I don't think we're going to create this in one meeting. We're not going to
No.
have one committee meeting and say,
No.
okay, we have that solution.
I understand
Yeah.
that there's a problem, but, you talk about this increase in population. When a shovel goes in the ground at Viviano and Franklin Court and these other places, then, it's imperative. I don't see those shovels going in the ground anytime soon. So I don't see a big influx of population in the school at this point. So I would be comfortable moving it to 2024 for that budget, but I would be very comfortable talking to the residents and all the stakeholders as soon as possible.
Yes,
So,
yes. Because again, I think it's going to be multiple meetings. I mean, that's
Sure.
the beauty of brainstorming, is like you kind of lean into everyone else's ideas and things that you didn't think of. And coming back to the table multiple times, it's not going to be in time for April 24th.
I believe you're right.
Right. So I motion to move the $500,000 to 2024 and to start committee meetings regarding how to best serve Washington school traffic flow.
And I seconded that motion.
Okay, Sue, roll call, please.
Councilman Cassio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney,
No.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
no.
Council President Morgan.
Yes.
Excuse me, Council President?
Yes.
May I ask the CFO question having
Sure.
to do with this?
Yes.
John, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
In the past, like when we did the new emergency services building, that wasn't in the capital. We did just a special ordinance for that. If the council, after this committee, and let's say we've already done the budget, could they in May or June do this as a standalone type thing?
That's a great question. I might have to confer with someone. to get an answer.
All right, 'cause maybe that's a middle
Great
ground.
option, yeah.
I may have to call my source that I used to call.
Okay.
Because I always thought it had to be part of the capital budget initially, and then it became a bond ordinance afterwards.
Yeah, because
In terms of steps.
we're going to have the same situation with the DPW building, either when we go out to bid or when we get the bids, we're going to have to allocate more money, but it's not in our capital right now. So we have done this on occasion. So if you can do the research, I think council would appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
No, that's kind of what I was saying. Can we just move ahead and put this elsewhere? But
Oh, I didn't
you
understand
used,
this.
no, I didn't use the right terminology, and so, okay.
So you had the right, you were
I
on
had the
right-
idea, I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
verbalize it.
All right.
This is open.
Okay.
We tabled the playground equipment. Did we do that?
Playground equipment, we never.
I'd actually like to make a motion to approve the playground. I did take a ride by. I believe that there was a painting job that happened on with the playground equipment, but honestly, it does need to be replaced. It is in wicked shape. I don't know if anybody else has gone by, but today was a glorious day outside. It is in wicked, wicked shape.
I think this is the one I have a note that we were tabling for Dan Scuderi.
Yes.
Was he asked to attend the meeting or no?
No, it's just asked if he could put it off for another year, if there was a way to put it off for another year. That was the question last night.
I
Council
thought we
President.
were asking.
If I may, I spoke to Mr. Scuderi today about it. You know, of course, he's hoping for it to be approved this year. You know, I myself went by just to look at it. You know, I kind of almost forced them, like, you got to give me an answer so I can tell them. You know, the honest truth is, yes, it's not in the best shape. It's not in the worst shape. Administration's hope was to stagger them. So by time, you know, say we move it a year or two, we're not in a position where we have to replace all of them at once.
You're talking about all of them at one field or all of them?
Like all the fields.
Oh, okay.
It's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but
No, but I hear you.
you know, there is parts of it that are rusty. You know, I mean, it is very dull and, you know, kind of boring and simple.
It's
You
also,
know, I
it's
wouldn't want
rough,
to play on it.
but it's also
Yeah.
rough to the touch.
Yeah.
It's
So,
rough.
you know, there's some rust that you could tell DPW has tried to fix in spots they couldn't, but like the monkey bars, you know, with the circular handles, you know, it's outdated. Can I honestly tell you it has to be done this year? No. You know, can it be put off another year? You know, certainly. But again, we didn't want to get in a position where, you know, now another one like has to be placed and we have to ask for more money. So we were trying to stagger it. You know, it is his recommendation to do it this year. It was a little bit higher of a proposal, however, utilizing the DPW to tear it down and actually recycle it for a little bit of revenue, saved about $10,000 to $12,000, and that doesn't include. That's just for the demolish of it. Didn't include whatever scrap we're going to get for it. So, and that's.
So that's already in there? That's the number?
Yeah. So the 103 we're asking for is the proposal amount to include DPW doing the demolish work and getting rid of it. So it was about $12,000 higher for the company to come in and do it.
So I'll be really honest. I'm on that field, on that basketball court with the cheerleaders every Saturday from August till the beginning of November, on that particular spot. And all the kids were playing on it, and I was actually the one who reported the rust. So I did see there was one piece of equipment that had rust. Can we, do we have to do the whole thing? I mean, the proposal looks like there's a whole bunch of playground equipment that they want to add in. Like you're saying, not all of it needs to be scrapped. Can't we kind of piecemeal it a little bit? You know, this one that with the rust will replace it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I know.
I'm sure anything's possible. Yeah, I don't know.
I would have no problem, you know, replacing something that could cut a child, you know, something that's dangerous. You know, fixing the rust is probably just putting a Band-Aid on it. But I don't think the answer is to rip everything out and put everything brand new. I haven't been there since November, but we haven't had a ton of snow. So I'm not thinking, you know, it's so much different than it was in November. But, you know, this is a group consensus. So my question, I guess, to Mr. Scuderi would be, is it something we can buy like as needed?
I'm sure that's possible. Yeah, you know, I don't know how it fits into like the whole design that this company came into. You know, maybe you'd have to, you know, replace the components that fit into the design now.
Right.
But you know, from looking at it, it was going to be a much more attractive playground. you
For
know,
$103,000.
In my opinion.
Better have a whistle machine.
And Council President, I'm sure the price would be a little higher because I'm sure part of that is for them to mobilize and bring a crew out, to only bring a crew out for one or two pieces. It's probably the same to do all of them in the same day. So we're probably going to get billed for a whole day, no matter if it's two pieces or I don't know how many pieces we're talking, but.
I mean, sorry.
No.
No, that's staggering, instead of doing all these projects in one shot. This is probably an easy blow a little bit. So
What's that?
it would ease the
Ease the
blow
blow.
if we have to do a bunch of the different playgrounds throughout the next few years, doing one at a time versus.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So that would be,
I know you want to keep it moving. Would it be, I'm speaking on behalf of the DPW, would it be all right then to ask you to approve like 30,000 this evening? And that way we have it as an option if they deem they can replace two or three that are must replace because of the condition.
That's
It's much,
better.
yeah, I would be.
I agree with the
It's a
mayor.
great compromise.
Okay.
Playground equipment is very expensive,
Everything is these days, unfortunately.
but actually playground equipment has always been expensive because of the,
ADA requirement.
well, ADA requirements and the safety issues the safety and design issues that go into it. Because I know at my school, we have a sizable playground and a little thing to put your hand on to grab with a nut. It's basically a piece of plastic with a nut on the back.
Right.
It's like $200 for a kid to grab onto it because it has to be,
they can't break,
can't break. And they, trust me, they break.
and they do.
They do break.
If the mayor's recommending 30,000, I'll make that
Motion,
motion.
okay. I'll second that. Two roll call whenever.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney,
No,
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes.
Council President, can I just let you know one thing too? Sure. If you don't mind. Certainly appreciate approving the town hall elevator capital request, but just so the council knows, there actually was no cost to the township for fixing it when they did. It was under the monthly contract. So just so everybody knows, like we actually didn't end up wasting money just to put in a new one. So it was good.
That's good to know. I did not know that.
Council President, may I go back on two line items? I did some more research on it and asked some questions, which sort of clarified my,
This is the regular budget.
yes, the regular budget.
No, did you finish everything on capital?
Did we finish everything on?
I just had a note about the roads that you guys wanted to talk about, the resurfacing of the roads.
Sunset, the one with the asterisk.
Oh, yes. So with the stars, yep, with the asterisks, yep. Did you have an answer, Mr. DiCarlo, on that?
So the notes I got from Ms. Witkowski was just to talk about the road program in general in more detail and the useful life of it. I will go back to the asterisk, but just, the asterisk doesn't apply to Sunset. It applies to the whole line, and I'll explain it. And it's a good asterisk. It's not a bad asterisk. We spoke to Mr. Yukimic, our township engineer, and the unfortunate news is that we used to be able to get like approximately 20 years out of the asphalt that was being used for paving. Unfortunately, they produce a much lower quality asphalt now. Parentheses, no one is producing the better quality that we can get to. And the anticipated life is around 10 years. So obviously there's some variables to that, such as, how much winter weather we get. Are we plowing? Like this year was great for the roads because we weren't plowing a ton. We weren't putting salt on it. And then, out of the proposed streets, I'm sure Beach Street's going to get more travel than, say, Sunset. So just, we're looking at around the 10 years because of the quality of the asphalt and then the variables that we can't control can either increase or reduce, that life expectancy a little bit there. As far as the asterisk, if, you just go to page 2, I'm suggesting to use older capital ordinances, specifically Capital Ordinance 1306, which back in 2013 referred to various road improvements. And there's actually a ton of lines there, maybe 1, 2, 3, like 6 or 7 or 8 lines, because it was split up into like engineering, legal, auditor, other interests, et cetera. But the whole control line has $136,000, $854.78 that we could use to offset the $506,000 and change that we're requesting. I'm sure there's probably a formality that we might have to pass a resolution just reappropriating the money, possibly not. I don't know if John knows that answer. But that, and thanks to Sue, she found the bond ordinances today. So that's actually money that's already been bonded. It's already been borrowed.
Oh, great.
So
How much
it's
was
just
that?
sitting there for us.
How much was that?
$136,854.78. So in that 506 that we asked for, the 506,500, that's not accounted for. So, but if you go to my tab for the actual roads, the second tab for capital, it essentially would pay for the engineering fee. So obviously the paperwork I completed for you guys just with some information isn't the actual proposal from Boswell Engineering. We need a formal, spec and bid and for the resurfacing company. But Boswell Engineering was anticipating 20% for engineering and inspection, approximately $101,300. So I did not include that in the capital request, making it $607,000, if you're following me. Hopefully I'm not confusing anybody.
I'm trying.
So the 136 that I'm saying we could use that's existing would be to pay for the engineering inspection and costs.
369.
So out of the 506,500 that we'd have to fund if you do the whole thing, $159,170 we've already been approved for the DOT grant, but obviously, we have to fund that up front. It's a reimbursement. So it's anticipated that the whole project for those 4 streets and the engineering would come to about $607,800, but utilizing the 136 that already exists brings us down to about that 506,500. And then out of that, we will eventually be reimbursed $159,170. So if you take that out, John, you probably know that answer right in the top of your head, but the road program would probably only end up costing us in new money, $506,500 minus the roughly $160. So you're down to $300,000. So I probably did a good job of confusing everybody, but what was it?
Approximately 340-ish,
Yeah.
343, I'm calculating right now.
So if I only succeeded in confusing everybody, then I did.
May I ask you a question, Council President? Mark, what'd you say the engineering fee was?
So
20%?
in just preparing enough information for the for you guys to decide the capital, they charge 20% for engineering and inspection. So approximately 20% of what the project is due to cost.
So I'm just throwing this question out. Do we have to go with Boswell? Is there another engineering company that can give us a better price, or are we locked in with Boswell?
We have
20% is a big chunk.
We have a contract with them, so I don't know. I don't know that.
So that's my
Yeah.
question. Do we have to go with them?
I mean, in the previous previous mayor before me, I know that she used to occasionally hire a special engineer for certain projects. We can certainly do some word of mouth checking to see what the other engineering firms charge
That's
and see
great.
if it's worthwhile.
Thank you.
And Just if I may add one other thing while I'm talking. I was on the call today with Mark, with Boswell, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, I think they said they don't make the old asphalt anymore because of new regulations. Now they have to use more recycled materials in the asphalt, and they had to get away from the old tar that used to give it its longevity. So that's the reason. It's more environmental than anything.
So,
I like the idea of getting quotes from other.
yeah, that's always a good idea. But here's what bothers me. A couple of years ago, we went out and we looked at all our old bonding ordinances. So we've had $136,000 sitting in an account that we're paying interest on, right? For 10 years. That's a 2013 ordinance. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we've been paying whatever interest rate, which probably isn't a good interest rate that we had the last couple of years. It's probably a lot higher than the 1 or 2%. So I'm going to request the administration to go through and find out what bonding we have, what's out there that's sitting in an account that we are not spending, that we're paying interest on. Because again, this is the taxpayers' money that you're spending all this money, 10 years of interest on $136,000. Let's say it was 4%. That sounds like an average thing. That's a lot of money over 10 years. And that's not being, I'm not blaming anyone here on the dais, especially not Mark and especially not the mayor, but that's something that you really have to look at if we're going to save money. Because having that and, spending money on money that we already have sitting there that we're not using is ludicrous. So I would request the administration to look through what's sitting there in the bank that we can use and get rid of it. Government is not a profit-driven organization. We should tax the residents what we need to operate, not hold stuff in a bank account somewhere for future use. It's a zero net game. So that disturbs me that this has been sitting there for 10 years at an interest rate that we're paying on. You wouldn't do that at your house, and we shouldn't do it here with the taxpayers' money. So that's my request to the administration.
I appreciate that we're able to use it though. Great.
Councilman Cassio, we wholeheartedly agree with you, and it was because of us doing that we identified.
Well,
So we have more coming.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
I do. Thank you.
Great. Okay.
I'm okay with the request for 506.
After the administrator's explanation, right? Because of
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay.
$506,500.
No, I'm saying what we paid off at 4%. Was doing the math.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no,
What
no.
was the math?
If I'm correct, this is what we paid about. So it's a good point. So I'm glad they're
Still,
working on that.
5K is 5K.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you get what I'm looking
So
for.
roll call.
Councilman Cassio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes.
And Council President, I just had one more note that I was asked to just to provide some information to you guys.
Okay.
It was basically very similar, but the 2022 Ford Super Duty pickup
Yes.
replacement that, again, we're very appreciative that you approved. And this is an existing capital ordinance, I think it was 1320. And not to upset Mr. Cassio anymore, but it was a
You're not gonna upset me.
previously bonded ordinance. Thank you again, Ms. Mikowski, for locating that. And it was originally put aside of $80,000 for a wood chipper. So in 2013, DMF purchased a wood chipper, $80,000. Again, speaking with our superintendent and our director, we'd like to utilize that existing money to purchase the Ford Super Duty pickup.
Great.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Do we have a wood chip?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Do we have a wood chip?
That's what we had.
Yeah.
Are we still having issues with Zoom?
Are we still having issues with Zoom? Why are you getting texts?
Yeah, just people.
Nothing nice. Councilwoman Feeney was able to sign on through her laptop. She had no issues.
Yeah, but people are still having issues.
Why?
Let me,
They
hang on a
text-
minute.
Sorry.
It was earlier, so just, but I didn't want to interrupt our
How much
flow.
earlier?
Can
you tell?
Let me see. About
Nothing
maybe
new.
18 minutes ago,
I'm gonna ask.
15 minutes.
Hold on. My phone is frozen again. I love this phone so much. Okay, so what am I asking him? If Zoom is okay?
Yeah,
Well, how is?
because Mr. Corcoran is on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can't see anyone.
You're not supposed to see us.
So,
Okay,
Sue,
all right.
WCTV sees at
Miss
least
Barron,
7
John.
attendees, which is more than
Yes.
usual.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes.
Okay.
If you
So
wanna
those are people on hold?
They're just viewing.
Oh, viewing.
They're just viewing. They're not asking to speak out.
Okay, so, yes. Do you guys, so we should take a budget break to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
I think that'd be a good idea because
So-
this way they have questions.
Yes. So we're going to return to public comment as promised earlier. For those people who had a problem logging on to Zoom, we want to be able to have the opportunity for everybody to speak and be heard. So we're going to motion to go back to the budget after public session. Public comment, yes.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Are there hands up?
Let's see. Yes, we do have one hand up.
Okay, great. Hello? Hello?
Hi, how are you?
Hi. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Okay, so I'm going?
Can you just state your
Okay,
name?
cool. Yep.
Name and
Christine Rydell, 302 Hickory Street in Township.
Okay.
So I have two things that I wanted to bring up. The first thing is I had reached out about 3 weeks ago about a group of women in town wanting to get a permit to use Memorial Basketball Court once a week, Monday nights, 8 to 9 p.m. And I'm kind of being met with some resistance. I haven't heard and I haven't gotten an answer yet. It was first, well, we don't really want to give you a weekly permit because there might be some kids who want to use the court and then they're not going to be able to use it if you guys have a permit. There's nothing for the women in this town to do. So there's a men's softball league, which, there's not much for the men either. But we have a group of women in town who want to get together and start playing basketball, once a week for an hour. I had asked for 8 weeks. And we're not getting anywhere. We want to start this next month. So we are against a timeline. So I just kind of want to find out what I can do to expedite this. And then the other thing is, and maybe it's a bit nitpicky, but recently, just before actually, found out that Westwood Rec Camp charges $325 for their summer camp for residents and $600 for non-residents, which would include Washington Township. Our rec camp is $440 for the 6 weeks, and we charge $550 for non-residents. They're charging 85% more. We're only charging, I didn't figure out the percentage, but we're charging $110 more. So if we were to charge the same percentage, we would be charging them $814 for the summer as a non-resident instead of the $550 that we're charging. Our camp has the facilities for Bethany. We don't cancel for weather because we have that facility. So, it's showing an unwillingness for Westwood Rec to work with us. It almost seems like they don't want us. to join their programs. And, I know that we are out of town, and they offer, we pay more and stuff like that. But it almost seems to be this back and forth kind of, they were charging us 25 and now we're charging 25. And, is there any sort of resolution? Like what's going on with Westwood Rec? Are we in chats with them to try and, I don't know, unify the programs or make this so that we can participate? I mean, our program, the summer rec program, in my opinion, is excellent. And I would understand why Westwood residents would want to come. And at $550, it's really, for 6 weeks, it's really not that much money. But, if they're charging $600, they're charging 85% more. I'm not saying I want to, forget you, Westwood, you can't come in, but we kind of have to look at it and go, well, what are they doing to us? I don't know. Maybe it's a bit childish, but I just saw it and I thought that it was kind of ridiculous. So, but that's it.
Okay, if you want to hang on, we can see if there's any answers. Okay. So.
Yes, Council President. Hello, Mark DiCarlo, Township Administrator. I apologize if you haven't gotten a response. Dan Scudieri, our Recreation Coordinator, did bring up the question about non-town league individuals wanting to play on the courts, for example. And I requested him to speak to the Recreation Director and to make a recommendation. And I will check on this, but I believe that they had responded to you. And if they haven't, I apologize, and I'll make sure it did. The concern is that the township programs like men's softball could present some type of danger with the balls coming with someone's playing on the basketball, but it also was a bigger concern of once we allow one group, then expands to more groups, and then free play of just kids or people showing up that are non-organized wouldn't have the ability to have the free time on the court. That was the theory behind the decision that they had recommended. I'll certainly, check up with them tomorrow to make sure. If I could just ask for your last name again, ma'am, I didn't catch it.
Yeah, it's Rydell. But yeah, I did receive that answer, but I didn't like it, honestly, because, I didn't like it because we are a group of women in town and we're asking for the court for one night a week for 1 hour. That's 8 weeks total. So, and I worked with Dan to find a night that would work out around the softball schedule. So my understanding is 8 to 9 p.m. would not cause any issues for foul balls because the games don't start till 9 p.m. So I don't see the issue there. And what's the point of allowing for permits if you're not going to allow them?
Like I said, if you don't mind, let me get back to you, because we did, we didn't want to create an inequity amongst people that wanted to do similar things to you, but we also discussed, do we make it a first come, first serve basis where we allow, certain number of groups. So if you don't mind, just let me get back to you and see if they circle back with that option in mind.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
Council
comments?
President, we allowed the men's softball league to play for years without them being a part of the town. And just recently, we just initiated them back into the township. So why can't we do the same for the women's basketball league?
I don't even know if it's a league.
I'm certainly not saying no. Like I said, I just.
Yeah, well, we're not.
I wasn't, this is just off the cuff. Obviously, I wasn't prepared for the question. So I'm just, going based on memory.
Right.
But yes, we will take that all into consideration, and I will circle back with the coordinator.
Okay, and any comments on the differences in between the Westwood camps and the township camps?
Well, I know we went through this before.
Yes, we did.
Sort of settled down. I think the mayor was involved with it. And
That's with the rec programs, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to keep playing this game of one-upping towns around us that are doing it. We prepare now annual budgets for each program. As long as they cover their own expenses, we're good, and we try and average out, what we charge our out-of-town versus in-town people. So It's just the road. We don't want to continue to go down to, it's got to stop somewhere. So, we feel we're comfortable with the rates we're charging at the moment.
And I'm telling you, the town's rec, the summer program is outstanding.
Second to none.
And I don't know why they want to go westward, but to be said, I mean, they have everything. They have trips, they have the pool, they have basketball.
Yeah.
Some of the program is outstanding.
Certainly is.
So Council President, I had spoken to Mr. Rydell when this happened. There was some information given to me about you were unhappy, so I had reached out to the rec director and to say to agree to say this they meet an hour for taxpaying citizens become on that which 100% support it. So and I feel that regardless of open play, if we do this, it is only going to spur community in town.
I love the idea.
Health, heart health, just getting out there because of COVID. I am imploring the mayor and the administrator of the rec board to work this because I really feel strongly that the moms are the ones that organize this themselves and to keep it going and keep it only benefits to the community.
There has been such a need for this type of like female mom, sport. I love it. I want to be part of it, even if I'm not tall. I want to do it. So I think it's great. And if Mrs. Rydell is the one who organized it, kudos, because that's great.
This is just my comment is, we have more than one basketball court. We have Clark
Gardner.
Field. We have Gardner, two nice courts. So there's not a lock on holding it up for 1 hour. It's 8 hours.
Right.
It's 8 hours out of the year that they're asking for. If you want free play, unfortunately, that 1 hour, you're going to have to go to one of the other fields.
I agree.
That's all.
Yep, I love it.
The clock's not lit.
Yeah, it's the lights consideration.
Well, yeah.
They want
Oh,
specifically
Play early.
Memorial.
Well, Clark's not lit, is
No.
Gardner?
No, just Memorial.
Just Memorial.
Oh,
Just
just
Memorial.
Memorial.
But you saw how much lights were going to cost.
I
Hey,
know.
listen,
I know.
Summertime's coming. It's light.
All right.
you know.
That's the
Make
problem.
plans accordingly.
That's the problem. Okay, anyone else's hand?
Yes.
Mrs. Rydell, are you still on?
I'm here, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
It was, it was not my idea, but I was the one that kind of ran with it, but I cannot take credit for trying to organize this.
Oh.
So,
All right, well, thanks for running with it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We have more.
Okay. Hello? Hello?
She has to unmute. Mrs. Sinclair, there you go.
Oh, okay,
Maybe.
She did? Mrs. Sinclair, can you unmute?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm unmuted. Laura Sinclair, 864 Ridgewood Boulevard East here in the Township of Washington. First, I'd like to say it's really nice to see that the mayor and council and on one day, it's really nice as a taxpayer to see everybody working collectively. And also sitting and watching the budget meeting, this would be more of a reason, whether it's women's basketball, whether it's the safety for the children of having parking at the fields, or perhaps if it could even utilize the school one day to please keep 450 in mind for all three of those. Thank you very much. Appreciate all of your time here, extra hours on the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number.
Hello?
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 Hi. Your name and address?
Hi. Hi, this is Yale Martinez, 666 Van Emberg Avenue.
Hello.
Hi. I just wanted to make, first off, I am the Republican Municipal Chairperson for Washington Township, and I wanted to talk about some of the comments made at yesterday's meeting by Councilman Cascio. I just wanted to have some clarification. So as far as the process where, he had mentioned he wasn't chosen, so I just wanted to be clear how the process was so there was no confusion.
So there was a vote by the 12 elected committee people where 4 candidates were presented and only 3 would be selected based on the highest votage. Unfortunately, Councilman Casio didn't receive enough votes. And I also wanted to be clear that the councilman also had the option to run as a Republican for the primary. It would just be on a different line. And then there would actually be a need for a vote where the people could have chosen the Republicans they wanted to. So I wasn't sure if he was aware of that, but he could have done that as well. And the last thing that I wanted to comment on is that he stated he was running as an independent Republican. I just want to be clear to the public that there are only 3 types of lines. There's a Republican line, a Democratic line, and an independent line. So because he chose to not run as a Republican, rather than he'd be running as an independent, and I wanted that to be made clear. However, he has every right to use, a slogan like independent Republican or whatever it may be, but I just wanted to delineate the differences between, Republican, Democrat, and independent. There's no category of independent Republican. So I just wanted to make those things clear. I didn't want anyone to be confused about it, and I just wanted to bring some light on the situation. Thank you, everyone. I'm happy that everyone is getting along on the dais. I look forward to watching more meetings, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Can I respond?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So yes, the process is the county committee, which is for a Republican or a Democrat. There's 2 committees in town. And the process is that committee votes and elects their candidates.
Traditionally, the sitting incumbent on the board or on the council is asked to run. This is the second time I was not asked to run on a Republican ticket for a primary. So I asked the county committee, put me on for the vote. I did not receive enough votes, that is correct, which is okay. And I am a Republican, okay? I am running as an independent, but I am a Republican. I'm a registered Republican for a long time. Some people in the past have now run as a Republican that have been Democrats for a long time, and they switched their party affiliations, which is okay. So I am a Republican. I am running on the independent line in the, not the primary, but in the general election. And I will have a ticket, a full slate, and everyone on that line will be Republicans, but they're running on the independent line. That being said, I will not be on the primary line. So that is the truth of the matter. So I am running. I'm not giving up my seat. And I'm not running as a Republican in a primary, because if you not get the line, you do not win in a primary. So my chances are better running in a general election as a Republican on an independent line.
Thank you.
That's my statement. And I support one Republican running on that line. And I will continue to support her because I think she's a great candidate for that line. And that's Miss Morgan.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else on the line?
Yeah, hold on one second. Yes, we have one more.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Hi, Kevin Zitko, 661 Jefferson Ave in the township. I was listening to the budget meeting tonight, and I just heard you guys talking about the playgrounds. A little background on me. I work for a company, and I sell wheelchair accessible vehicles for children, adults, etc. I just think if we are investigating redoing any of the playgrounds, and I did hear somebody mention ADA, so I don't know if it was part of it. But in this process, I think we'd also investigate any playgrounds that we redo, making them handicapped accessible. But I would just ask that of the administration and the DPW director to consider that whether it's this year, next year, or 5 years from now, that should be something we should put a priority on as well. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Thank you. is it Duck Pond, I think, has a beautiful ADA, like a swing where you can put a child maybe who's in a wheelchair or something. You can put them right on. It's so nice. I would, it's really.
And we do have, I know of at least one child in town in a wheelchair. There's probably more, but I do personally know of one.
Okay.
So something to think about.
Definitely something we would think about moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night. Is there anyone else on?
It looks like that's it.
Okay. Okay, since there's no one else online, is motion to close public,
So moved.
yeah,
Second.
thank you. Oh, my goodness.
I'm sorry, motion was by,
Steve.
Two people just texted me and said they were on hold. I don't know what that means.
Make a motion to reopen.
Okay.
No, I don't know if they see them. I'm just letting you know.
Lynn Berger? Is she one? She just popped up.
Is
She was
is
not
there
on
hand
there.
there? Is there anybody, if you are on Zoom,
I think they did give up.
please, *9 to raise your hand.
They did give up. That's fine.
There's people still on.
If there's someone.
Are they logging off?
Logging. Somebody logging.
Oh, people are just logging off right now.
That one I just mentioned just logged off.
Okay, all right, motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Okay. And there was a second, right?
Yes.
Okay, Sue, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're gonna return to the budget. All right, so just to go over the first page in capital to make sure we're just gonna stay organized. For the sidewalks, we agreed to move it over into 2024 so we can do the due diligence of having a committee this year and meeting and having sessions to see what those solutions can be, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We approved the 2023 road program resurfacing Beach, Clark, Cypress, and Sunset. And Mr. DiCarlo spoke to how that grant is going to be applied and how the old capital is going to be applied to that line as well. We're done with the Salem Street one we had approved previously. We just approved the Ford Super Duty pickup replacement, again, using the capital ordinance. We approved all of the items in that DPW earlier. What else? The police stationary ALPRs, we moved that to 2024. We approved the architectural design for the police department, and so that page is done. Okay. All right. For the next page, the Gardner Field Playground, we approved $30,000 for potential new equipment there. We approved the library roof, the town hall elevator, and we are done with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're done with that.
Good.
Great.
Nice.
We're going to go back to some of the items that we tabled the last meeting.
Council President Morgan?
Yes.
Can I just mention one thing on page 2 where it has the offsets? I think it's just a typo because it says 75,000, 136,000. I think that should be either that should be 135 or the one on page 1 should be 136. I'm not sure.
Where are we? I'm not sure.
Where the offsets are?
Here, the total.
You're talking
75
about
and
the
136.
Are you talking about on
Capital
capital?
page?
Capital.
Yes, on capital on the second page
Okay.
where it says 75 and 136. And if you look at page 1 under DPW, it's 135. I'm not sure which one. I don't know if the DPW one should say 136, then that would be fine. Or in other words, I think one has to be changed. I'm just not sure which one.
Council President, can I
Yes,
respond?
yes.
John, shh.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Mark. You don't have a number, so I'm sorry.
The 75 I'm sorry, 75 reflected on page 2 is to cover the cost for the 22 Ford Super Duty.
Right.
The 136 is to be applied towards what is needed for the road program.
Correct.
So you were
Oh,
thinking,
the offset. Oh, okay.
yeah, so
Okay.
it had nothing to do with the 2023 Ford F-550.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Thank you, though. We appreciate it. We may have missed that. All right, so Sue, do you have a list? I do too, of what we tabled.
I have, you want account numbers, you want names?
Actually, hang on, before we go to the tabling, did you say you
Yeah,
had something earlier?
Yeah, I would ask the council to go back to line item on page 48, 33250.
48.
And it will be down towards the bottom, dues, meetings for health department. I talked to the person involved with this, and she's asking if we can increase it to 350 because of the dues changes. It'd be $100, and it's less than the 525, and she's asking for 350 on that.
I'll make a motion for 400 for that line item.
For 400?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney, Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes.
Thank you. And to be fair, since I want to keep equity going here, 145,250, please.
Page.
Yeah, what page is that? Page 12.
Going back to page
Yes.
12. The tax assessors,
Tax collector,
I'm sorry, tax collector. After speaking with her, there is an increase in the fees, and I would proposal that the 1,200 be reinstated.
I'll second that since
Her
that was my
credits.
original motion.
Her credits and her stay has increased for,
1,000 or 1,200?
1,200.
is it 1,200?
I'll second, that was my original motion.
After speaking with them, it's obvious that the CEUs and the amount of credits they need have increased.
Okay.
So my motion would be to reinstate 1,200, which was recommended.
Okay.
Which line item?
Oh, that's line item
145.
145, 250 on page 12.
Okay, no page.
Any questions? Okay, Sue, roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney,
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes.
I want to thank the council for entertaining me on these issues. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council President, if I may, I just want to extend my appreciation as well to everybody. Thank you for supporting our employees and reconsidering both of those lines. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay.
Now, back to what we have to do here.
What's tabled is,
Council President, one of the lines to be tabled was that capital improvement fund, which is significantly going to change based on
okay,
the amounts you just approved in the capital budget.
okay.
I would just ask if, unless John already has the answer, what the total is, which I'm sure he does.
I have to figure out what the total approved is. I haven't actually done that. If I knew that number, I could tell you what the dollar amount would be.
I can,
We
I
can
mean,
go
I don't
on.
want to interrupt you, but if I can run off the amounts, like.
I was just gonna say that.
Okay.
I mean, if you give me a total, I can give you 5%.
Well, I'm going to give you the numbers. You're going to give me the total. No calculator either.
All right. You know, it's getting late, but
Is
go
that
ahead.
okay? Is that okay?
No
I'm gonna try my best.
All right, it's got to be accurate though. 506,500,
Okay.
327,500,
Right. Okay.
135,000.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to include the 75,000 because we already have funding for that. So just so everybody understands. Then we're going to add 25,000.
Okay. Are you almost done? I'm trying to have these on my head. Okay.
30,000. I'm just kidding. You can just count it. 30,000.
30,000. Okay.
220,000 and 120,000. So you should have one.
Can you just count to like 120 and I'll get this done for you? Just okay.
I'm sure there's other people. That do this.
1364.
What was the last number?
120.
530.
It's 1364.
1 million?
Yeah.
3?
Yeah. I have
Oh, you did on a calculator already?
Yeah.
1.364.
Okay, then multiply that times 5%.
That'll give us the number.
So you're bonding.
68,200.
That's so
Yeah.
is that what you're coming up with? What is it, ma'am?
68,200.
68,200.
So 68,200 for that line. It wasn't necessarily in order of how you tabled it, but I figured we didn't want to miss that.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Bring the good news out quicker.
What's that?
Bring the good news out quicker.
That's it.
It is on page 67, if you
Yep.
want to do that.
Okay.
Okay. So that's going to go down to 68. So
What'd you say?
68,200.
68,000.
it's a big decrease. Okay.
Excellent.
Uh, 67.
Okay. So motion to approve this.
So moved.
What's that?
So moved.
Oh, so moved, okay. Anyone want to second that?
Wait, I'm sorry, where are we?
On capital improvement fund, 902-200.
Page 67, the middle of the page.
Yeah, page 67.
67 right here.
Page
67.
67, yeah.
Capital improvement fund.
Okay.
902-200.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Hold on a
It's a
second.
decrease of $138,900.
A question on this?
Mhm.
Why is OEM asking for?
Oh, we're not on that one.
No,
Oh.
we're on this one
The
above.
low one.
Oh,
That's-
one above it?
Yeah.
Thank you,
Decreasing is to 68 as
Oh,
opposed to
68,
207.
thank you, I'm sorry.
No, sorry. So that's 68,200.
Yes, it's a decrease of $138,900.
So can I have a second?
We seconded it.
Oh, you did, okay. All right, Sue, roll call.
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes,
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes. And then we also tabled 904-200 on the same page.
yes.
And there were some questions here. The $39,000 rescue boat, the $24,000 OEM message board, the $17,000 OEM light tower, all totaling 97,000.
So, if I may, Council President,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go reverse order. I don't understand why OEM needs a light tower when we have multiple light towers here. And if we need light towers, we can go down to the county at any time and bring light towers up to the township. We've done that for every town day event that we've had. So I don't understand why he has to have a light tower.
In the 1033 program, you can get the towers from too.
Yeah, that's where we got a couple of them.
Mhm.
So I would like to remove that. And then OEM the messaging board, the police have one on a mobile unit. We have the messaging board out in front. So why are we duplicating the services that we already have? So I'd like to have that one removed also.
Okay.
And then the final one, and I can't vote on this, but I can only make a recommendation. $39,000 rescue boat, I think, is out of line, what we need in the township. I previously looked up rescue boats when Mr. Tovo was the
I
administrator.
don't remember that.
And they run from 8,000 to the high end. And I would question the $39,000, why we need it. I didn't see proposals or anything. And I can only speak, I know I'm gonna get in trouble because I'm speaking as a firefighter for the last email that just came across.
Do we have a rescue boat already? Is this like
Well, the
the
rescue
second?
boat
We had a rib. Don't
has
we have a
been
rib?
sitting in the lot exposed for the last 3 years. There was multiple problems with it.
Okay.
It's falling apart. I agree we need one, but I don't think we need a $39,000 rescue boat. I would like to see 3 different quotes on that before it even is being considered.
Council President,
Yes.
if I could just provide some info, give my best effort
Please.
to support the request.
Mhm.
I totally understand the questions. I do just want to very importantly point out that the recommendation is to use ARPA money, which is the American Rescue Plan Act funds that we receive from the federal government. So it's not money the mayor and I are suggesting to raise through taxation. This is money that's already in hand, and that $100,000 is accounted on the revenue sheet. So it's I just want to definitely make sure everyone, before they make the decision, understands this is not raising taxes. This is accounted for on the revenue sheet. Also on the revenue sheet, I'll say in good faith, but that kind of sounds like, the mayor definitely recognized the burden that the large budget was going to, cause this year, and has recommended, and also on the revenue sheet, the use of, let me make sure I'm looking at this right, because these lines are a total of $220,000 of additional ARPA money to offset taxation and the budget. So those two lines, one for the 100,000 that I'm asking for those items, is accounted on the revenue sheet. It's not being raised through taxes, and the mayor wants to use $220,000 of the remaining American Rescue Plan money to offset taxation through the revenue report too. So just so everybody understood that, I definitely understand still the question on why we needed these things, but I just really wanted to hit home that it wasn't going through taxation. It was money already on hand through the ARPA.
Allocated to
So-
us. Excellent,
Right.
excellent. But go ahead.
Council President, Mark, Mr. Carl, wouldn't it be smart to get rid of the messaging board for $24,000 and give the fire department their audio visual equipment that they need for training under this?
I think we have a way to do both.
Then could you please add it to this?
That would be great. That's an excellent suggestion.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't understand what you mean by add it to instead of substituting something.
yeah, so the messaging board is not really needed because we have 2. So substitute the messaging board for OEM with the fire department's proposal for the audio and visual systems that they need for the emergency service building.
We're hoping to use some of the capital money from the ESB building to pay for the audiovisual system. It does delay it by a couple of months because I have to make sure that all the major bills are paid. We're pretty close to TechCon being done, and that should finish out the last of the big payments on the project. And so I checked, and it is an allowable expense because it has to do with the new building. But like I said, to be prudent, I just have to make sure, and there's plenty of money still left in the line, but I just want to do things in order. And so I want to make sure all the large bills are paid before spending this 20,000 plus or minus on the AV system. I think in the end, by the time the budget gets passed, then it would go through. Since the capital was already approved, we're probably talking a very close timeline, putting it here or putting it there. Since I know there's going to be money in there, again, I think the timing's going to be very close. I'd rather use
You
capital
figure
money
we're
than
gonna be under
operating.
budget for that building?
I do.
And Council President, if you were done, Mr. Sears, I just wanted to continue with the explanation for those items. Is that if you were to? So the signboard, the lights, and the rescue boat were initially requested as capital improvements from the department heads that prepared those budget lines. Knowing again where we were going to be with the budget and where we were before the final capitals were approved, we thought again it would be best to not ask for the money through capital where it would be taxation and utilize the money that we have on hand for ARPA. So they were originally capital requests, and that's why they were put in here. And just for the sake of hearing me out, I appreciate it. The electronic message board was requested by OEM, and again, just the justification that I have will allow for agencies to quickly share notifications and manage traffic flow. And then for the light tower, just as replace as needed our existing aging incandescent light towers. The generator gives ability to run traffic lights should power go out or get interrupted. And then just for the justification on the boat, just to read this was provided me by the fire department for their capital, but it just says a new rescue boat provided by Advanced Rescue Boats and Equipment LLC. This is to replace our current 2000 Zodiac RIB style boat. Currently, both pontoons are separating from the hull and is in need of repair. The only repair facility is in Cape May, New Jersey, and is a costly repair. The one side was already repaired a few years ago. Over the past 20 years, we have realized our current V-style hull boat does not suit our needs and how we operate. This boat is a flat bottom style boat and is the same one utilized by other departments in the Valley. Is also designed to interlock with the same style boat, creating a large platform to operate from. So that paragraph is justifying why they need a new boat. I asked them, can we justify why we need a boat? So I'm sure that question came up. And, the response I get is obviously the flash flooding that we've experienced over the last couple of years, our ability to mutually aid other departments. And probably the biggest one is, I was told by the fire department that we are the primary response for Schlegel Lake, God forbid an emergency is there. We also tried for grants. There's nothing at this time. We're not saying that we're even giving up on that. But thank you for hearing me. Those are the justifications I just wanted to give you. And Mr. C, I don't remember if we received 3 quotes. I did have a conversation with the fire department that we would utilize that 39 as the number to ask council for the approval to spend, but they're well aware that, we need the 3 quotes because it was not under any type of state contract or co-op. And that's my best effort, and I thank you for your consideration on all of it.
Okay, so.
Council President, may I just make a real quick comment? And maybe the other council members will recall this. In last year's budget, they also asked for the rescue boat. We said we would have the grant writer look for one during last year. I know he did look, and there's just no grants around for a rescue boat. So we did put it off from last year. I don't want to say we promised because we can never promise, but we did tell them if the grant writer wasn't successful, we would fund something for a rescue boat. I don't want to get into what they need, because that's not outside my area of expertise. And the other thing, just for the light tower, I know the police steadily look for those on the 1033 program. They come up and they go very quickly because everyone always wants more light towers. So I know they've been actively looking.
Okay. So, and this is offset anyway by the revenue from ARPA.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Promise.
Do we have that money in hand?
Yes, sir.
Good.
In the drawer.
All right, and you're saying.
Can I comment on that real quick?
Uh-oh.
No,
You ruined this, John.
No, I'm okay. No, that's all good. The 100,000 plus the 220 mark mentioned about going towards the taxes, we will still have some monies left over in that revenue line. I don't know the exact dollar amount. I will know shortly when I sit down with the order. It's approximately 400 and some thousand. I don't want to give the exact amount, but so just so you know that there is money to cover those areas. And we'll still have some left over in that revenue line.
Excellent. So then there is a possibility, a very real possibility, to fund the audio through that.
Yes, but again, I would ask that we do it out of capital and save this money maybe for something else, because that is an allowable capital expense with the building.
Okay, use the existing capital.
Yeah, existing,
not
right.
create new
No,
capital.
right, yes.
Right.
Good point.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, great. Okay, so then, motion to approve.
So moved.
Anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so roll call.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney?
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez?
Yes.
Sorry, Tom. Councilman Sears?
I really have to recuse myself of the vote to vote on, but I will vote for everything else, yes.
Just recuse yourself.
Thank you.
And Council President Morgan?
Yes.
So $61,000, you're good one. Okay. Just check.
Okay, so that's done. What else did we have?
Page 59, the sanitary sewers.
Oh, yeah, 460. Yep.
Yes.
59.
59?
Yep, 59.
Yes, actually, I'd like to answer that if I could.
Yes.
I was asked to give the answer to this one. I spoke to the QPA today, and these street sounds that we're paying. Back in November, we paid Ridgewood, but we still haven't gotten the invoices for Paramus and Hillsdale. And the amount is going to be $29,000 for Paramus and $2,000 for Hillsdale. So that's $31,000. So eventually that line is going to show $70,540.50, which I think will justify asking for the 75.
Okay. Okay, that's why we tabled it. We just needed an explanation. So I'm okay with it. Is everyone else?
Agree.
Second.
Okay. So roll call. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez?
Yes.
Council President Morgan?
Yes. Okay. And then we had page 65.
65.
Yeah.
65, the clerk, violations clerk.
Yep.
490, 190.
We were confirming how many hours this
Yes.
role is.
And thank,
What page, Tom?
65.
65, 490, 190.
and
Echo.
and thank you for tabling this and allowing me to offer the explanation. So if you know, it's going to be a long-winded, response, but in the beginning, if you remember on page 1, we kind of broached the subject when we talked about the floater position and allowing more hours in the QPA and finance office to deal with escrow and all the purchasing, the reconciling. This is going to be the same individual. So our desire is for this person to be a 35-hour employee.
Mm.
This line, it took me a little bit to try and figure this out as well, but the salary ordinance was approved. I think it's actually a typo, but the 22 salary ordinance for violations clerk was approved for 23,011, which was the approved amount in the budget. The typo I'm referring to is if you look at the salary ordinance, it says 22,011. So I'm only assuming it was a typo because of what was approved in the budget. This amount was for if this particular person was working 20 hours in the court. This person has traditionally been working 15 hours, and then on court nights would be paid, not overtime because it wasn't a full-time employee, but on court nights would be paid those extra hours out of that line. So historically, the numbers you're looking at is 15 hours on a regular basis and then additional hours on nights where they're courts.
Okay.
The mayor and I are respectfully requesting the council the use of the total amount this year that would help us in meeting the salary requirements of a total of $37,500 for that employee to be a 35-hour employee. And the funds would come from this line and that first line I was talking about on page 1 of the budget for the floating staff when we discussed the hours to assist in the purchasing department and the finance department. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, I've created confusing everybody, but that's the explanation as to why you see less than what's being approved historically, and the answer as to why we're respectfully requesting that amount in full to be used this year.
You're requesting 37,500?
Says
But on the salary chart, if you looked and, you added up the two amounts for that
okay.
individual,
Okay.
it will total 37.
But that line in particular right there.
Yeah, that line in particular, I just need,
23,472.
that's yes. And then what you guys already approved on the first page
Yeah, okay.
will get me to my 37.5.
Okay, so 23,472 is what you're asking to be approved right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For that line for 490, 190.
Yes, and part of this
Yep.
person's position will be to fill the vacancy that you most likely know of that was created in November?
November, yes, correct.
All right, so thank you for your explanation. I'm okay with that. Does anyone else have any discussion?
No, I'll second the motion.
Okay, so roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes. Okay. And then and we did it, right? That's it?
Mm-hmm.
So I think
That's all I have.
else.
Great.
I think you did it.
We have, we're gonna get a plus or minus sheet.
We have one as of last night, so I have to do one tomorrow.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so then that will determine when we see the plus or minus sheet, we'll look and make sure we're satisfied with what we've done. And then if we are, we won't have to revisit the budget.
Can we talk about the meeting dates?
Yeah, just in case we
Potential
have
new-
to. Yeah,
Oh, in case
that's not a bad
we have
idea.
to go back?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not available the 10th or the 11th
Okay.
next week.
What's that, Monday and Tuesday?
Yep.
Okay. Are those like,
The whole week you said you might be gone, right?
Yeah,
okay.
17th, 19th. I think what 17th, 19th, what was the other one?
Well, 10th and 11th, is that too soon anyway?
Let's see, today is what, Tuesday, Wednesday, if I advertise
Okay.
so that if I have it by tomorrow by 3, it's a Monday deadline, Monday publication. So that might be tough.
All right. All right, so and again, no hurt feelings. The same will go for me. I have a couple days I'm not available. If we have a quorum, we're gonna use those days. We're not gonna not have them, okay? So I don't think we're gonna need another day. I think we did a pretty decent job trimming the budget as much as we could with what was in our power, outside of the just inflation in general. So I am not anticipating another budget night, but if we are, we cannot, wait for everyone to be, as long as we have a quorum. Again, I don't even have to be here. We have a council vice president who can take the lead if I'm not here. So,
Zoom.
or Zoom,
Do you
right?
want me to advertise to the 11th? And if we don't need it, we can always cancel it.
Let's advertise, yeah.
Do you want to do that? Is everybody okay with the 11th?
I'm not.
Are you okay with the
I
11th?
thought we could just do it for the next council meeting too.
I'm not here on the 17th. That's a definite.
But is everyone okay for the 11th other than one council person? You're good? Are you good?
I
I'm
may,
away. I'll have to Zoom it.
On the 11th?
I'm away all next week.
Oh, okay.
I'm not back until
So that's
leaving
two.
Friday. I won't be back until probably the Tuesday.
Right now, I can't confirm 11.
We can't confirm, so there's not a quorum.
All right, well, can you go back to the 17th?
So the
and go to regular
17th,
meeting?
so the 12th is no good either? Well, Stacy's
There's a
not here
meeting,
and
there's a meeting on
Steve's
the
not here.
12th.
There's a meeting, okay,
Yeah, there's that, moving up planning and zoning.
okay.
So the 19th would be the next, right?
Well, the 17th,
17th is a
For the
regular
next
meeting,
regular-
and the 19th.
but the 17th, if we needed it, we'll be doing it
We
during
could do
conference.
conference. Oh, but Steve won't be.
I'm not here. so-
Oh.
Right, right,
Yeah,
that's,
If you got your 4, you got your 4.
yeah, we'd still
That's okay.
have 4
You got
people.
4.
You come back the 17th?
I'm on the plane on the 17th at that time.
So right now, we're okay with the budget until we see the plus or minuses, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that everybody?
Yeah, and I'll email them to you ASAP.
Council
Can I get a vote on that? I'm gonna get a roll call
I
on
need to,
that.
I have a spreadsheet, I need to go home and look at it, I can't, it's too many numbers, all at once.
No, I'm not asking for the plus or minuses. I mean, on what we've done so far, if the plus and
How about straw
minuses, a straw poll, yeah.
I abstain because I wanna look at my spreadsheet.
All right, so you know what, let's,
Just 'cause
Get the
I-
numbers, and then you can
Yeah,
decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
Why, I guess not.
okay. All right. Yep. Did you want to say
Can't do it
something?
in my head.
I don't know if it's more of a suggestion or an ask. Maybe Ms. Witkowski and I can just again confirm our numbers, and then I can ask our financial advisor to help me revise the tax impact form and the revenue, and we can get that out to you, because that will be your actual, rather than just looking at your spreadsheet, you can see now
Okay,
the new revenue sheet, the new tax impact, and I really think it's going to come down rather significantly. So,
excellent. Okay, we can do that. So let's,
Let's wait on that.
yeah, we'll wait on
Yeah,
that,
we'll
but we
just
still have
go
to
with the-
advertise something, so we'll say for the 17th.
Yeah, and then we don't have to advertise for the 17th,
Right,
because that's a
it's already
regular
there.
meeting, so.
Okay. All right, very
We
good.
have to, but if we do have to make a decision for the 19th, what's the deadline, Sarah?
That's a Wednesday.
So if you count backwards.
I would say, because they just changed it again. They went from one time, they moved it up. So let's see, today I did one for, it's gonna be Monday, so today is Tuesday from Monday. So I would assume that
Six
we're
days
gonna
out.
do, yeah. they really-
So no, here's what's happening. On the
They changed it
17th,
out, yeah.
we're done with what happens. We have to stay here until we're done. We have a finished product, so we can't imagine it's gonna be that much longer. We're
Right.
staying until it's done. 17th is a do or die. Okay?
And you might end up, if everything goes well, we might want to talk about advertising the 24th then to do an introduction, especially just to introduce the budget.
Yeah, 'cause you have
Because
to
she
do
said
it
she
by
would give me
18th.
till the,
So-
no, they said by the 24th I have.
So do that.
Right, exactly.
You have till the
So
18th
do-
to advertise for the
do that.
24th.
So
Because
I
we will
advertise that,
be
just- we can always
introducing it,
cancel.
because we're not canceling it, the
No, I'm
17th.
saying we could if we had to, but
Okay.
I'm just saying, no. I
We shouldn't
agree.
have to,
I
because
agree.
we're not going home until it's done on the 17th.
Well, should we
So-
have the meeting on the 17th and then advertise, so we're not paying for it? Because the drop dead for the advertisement on the 24th is the 18th.
It's a small ad.
Okay.
Seriously,
I'm just saying to save
I hear you,
somebody.
but it's only about $20. It really is not a
It's gotten
lot.
to be expensive, yeah. So, just if you back 6 days up, it's 18.
Okay,
Guys, may I
yes.
just make a quick closing comment? I want to say on behalf of the administration and the department heads, we appreciate your work on the budget. We think that you worked with the department heads. The decreases were very in line, very reasonable. So on behalf of all the employees, the departments, I want to thank the council for coming up with the budget they did. It's always a pleasure working with you on this. I'm going to echo what I think Mrs. Osmond said. And, Mark did a very good job on this, considering his first year. And I appreciate you letting us have input even after we presented the budget to you. Like we say, just because we present it, that doesn't mean we stop working on it. And so we're always looking for ways to save. And so we appreciate you taking our suggestions in most cases.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, good job, guys, and thank you for being open-minded and doing what we did with the budget. I think we did the best that we could. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.